Hello. Hi, so welcome to this session hosted by the Plant-Based Treaty. It's great to welcome everyone here. I am Perrin Harvey. I lead policy at Upfield, the world's largest plant-based food company. So we advocate for a shift to more plant-rich diets, especially in the global north, and especially in countries that overconsume meat and dairy. I'm pleased to be handing over to Max Weiss of the Plant-Based Treaty, who's going to take you through a quiz. We're then going to see a presentation, and then after that, I'll come back for a panel. Max.
Thanks so much, Perrin. Yeah, so you can either scan the code or go to the address, which is shown here. And we're going to wait for you to join. I'm going to move to the back and give you some instructions. Okay. Let us know how it's going. If the connection is too bad, we'll just skip the quiz. Okay, we have 3 players, 4. Hooray! All right, everyone ready? We'll just take it as it is now. All right, question number 1 coming up for you. How much of the world's farmland is occupied by animal agriculture? You have 25 seconds to answer. The faster you are, the more points you'll get. Yeah. Everyone has answered. Great. All right. Yeah, it's 80%. Actually, a little bit more, 83% from a study from the Oxford University of 2018. Next question. How much of the world's calorie demand is produced on that land by animal production? So on 83% of our land, how much calories are we producing globally? Everyone has answered. Woohoo! Yeah, it's only 18%. Hooray! All right, next question coming up. Over the last 100 years, how much of global deforestation has happened due to animal agriculture? Everyone has answered. Yeah, it's really bad. It's 80%. All right, next question. What percentage of farm animals, of all animals used in agriculture, live on factory farms? Yeah. So you see, these questions they tend to be in the extremes. So it's more than 90% of animals live on factory farms. All right, last question coming up for you. How many land animals are being reared and killed for food globally every year? Right, 10 seconds. Yeah, so it's a staggering 80 billion land animals. Okay, thanks so much for taking part in our quiz, and winner is Audur. Awesome. Congratulations. Oh, no, sorry, what was the presentation? Oh. Oh, that's right next. Oh, sorry. So easy. All right, so yeah, we're here to talk about the Plant-Based Treaty Initiative. It's an initiative to call for a more sustainable food system, a food system that's more I'm blanking out. Yeah, it's we have to move away from animal production and towards plant-based food system. That's really the core of it. And yeah, so today is Biodiversity Day, and I thought we could have a look at the planetary boundaries that were created by the Stockholm Resilience Center. And they are indicators of the 9 key systems on our planet that keep the Earth system healthy. And as you can see, some of them are already quite severely broken. And I'll lead you through the ones that are severely affected by animal agriculture. So on the top, we have climate change. That's why we're all here. But really, when we are talking about animal agriculture, we have to talk about so much more. We have to talk about biodiversity. We have to talk about land use change, freshwater use, biogeochemical flows. So all the ones that you see on the left, they are really, really drastically impacted by our use of animals, of our dependence on animal production. And so 4 of those are already exceeded, and 2 of those 4 so strongly that there's a really high risk of catastrophic consequences already. So maybe some of you know we're in the middle of the 6th mass extinction in Earth history. So this means that species are dying out much quicker than new species are evolving. And then we have biogeochemical flows, also a very important boundary that's not being talked about much. We have animal agriculture as the leading cause of acidification and eutrophication on our water bodies. So the emission of phosphorus and nitrogen. And yeah, but today we will be talking about the interconnectivity between climate change and biodiversity a little bit more. Don't be overwhelmed. It's it's a little bit shocking at first, but I'll lead you through it, and maybe hopefully we can see the red dot. Probably not, but doesn't matter. So on the top, we see all the emissions and the stress that we put on the land because of animal agriculture. So we have energy consumption, of course. Animal agriculture is also consuming fossil fuels, but really the largest ones that come to mind are the fire clearings, slash and burn. We already saw that so much deforestation is happening because of animal agriculture. And then we have the unused carbon sinks, so carbon opportunity costs, which we really have to take into account because they're so big. And then we have the metabolism of animals. Looking at it from a physical perspective, animals are really very inefficient bioreactors. And we have so many of them, as you saw in the quiz, 80 billion land animals. So when we use animals to convert nutrients, we're taking 90% of energy losses. That's what we're accepting when we're using animals. And these losses come from the metabolism of animals, so respiration, digestion, manure. And these emissions then in turn lead to really climate damaging gases in our atmosphere. But also on the right-hand side, you see how they are connected to factors that have an impact on biodiversity loss. So you see on the right-hand side, we have ammonia, nitrogen oxides from the fertilizer and also from the manure. And then we have pesticides, of course, because we need so many plants to feed all the animals. We also need a lot of pesticides, of course. And then again, on the left, on the right-hand side, sorry, we have the land clearing and water consumption that, of course, directly affects biodiversity loss as well. So climate change and biodiversity, they are in a positive feedback loop. So they can reinforce each other. And this can really become like a death spiral, so that we can't escape anymore. And just to show you how bad biodiversity loss already is, I'm going to show you this slide. So you see on the left, the scale is 1,000 extinctions per minute, per million. So out of a million extinctions that are happening, sorry, I start again. So the scale is extinctions per million. And on the left, we see the background rate, which is around 0.1 to 1. So 0.1 to 1 species out of a million are going extinct on a normal day-to-day basis. So they're also being replaced by new species, of course. And the Stockholm Center for Resilience set up the planetary boundary at between 1 to 10. So biodiversity is a really complex issue. So the margins are quite high, but just to give you an idea. And then when we look at it where we are now, the scale of species that are dying out is between 100 and 1,000. So we're exceeding the planetary boundary between 100 to 1,000 times, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. And so the graphic doesn't really show it, but animal agriculture is the main driver of this, especially because it's the main driver of land use change. 3/4 of our land use change happens because of animal agriculture. Only 20% happens because of humans growing crops, so plants for human consumption. And then we have like 4 to 5% because we build cities, build roads, so very small. And this is what it leads to. On the bottom, we see mammalian biomass. So the biomass of all mammals on Earth, it's comprised of 60% farmed animals, 36% are human animals, and only 4% are of the biomass we still have in mammals are wild animals. Isn't that crazy? This is really, really terrifying. So again, to sum it up, a little bit more of an easier slide. These are the environmental impacts of animal agriculture. It's climate change, it's land use change, it's crazy amounts of water and soil and water pollution through the fertilizers and pesticides and fungicides, whatever we saw. And a very, very problematic aspect is the rainforest clearings. Rainforests and all forests, of course, are the most biodiverse spots on our planet, and they are being ravaged by animal agriculture. And I'll give over to Nilgün. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. So I'm Nilgün, based in Turkey, from plant-based treaty team. I would like to talk about about world hunger. Like 46 billion people are facing emergency hunger levels, and with the threat of malnutrition, starvation, and death. The United States Zero Hunger Sustainable Development Goal calls for to end the hunger in the world by 2030. However, the war between Ukraine and Russia, the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the extreme weather events, has intensified the underlying inequalities around the world, making this goal even harder to achieve. According to a paper in the journal One Earth, the impacts of climate breakdown could push 1/3 of the world's food production out of its safe climatic space. Safe climatic space means the conditions that allow humans and their activities to persist. Critically, those who contribute least to the global climate change are most affected by its impacts. We cannot address climate change without addressing social inequities and the access to nutritious plant-based foods. As we can see, and most of you have already known, that world's habitable lands, 50% of world's habitable lands are used for agriculture, and 83% of this agricultural land is used to farm animals. Whereas, yet this only leads to 18% of calories needed. We kill 80 billions of animals each year to feed 8 billion humans. How come we cannot feed those over 48 million people who are facing the emergency level of hunger, which I mentioned in the beginning? Comparing the numbers of dairy and meat back in 50 years, we can see that we are now producing 3 times the meat we used to 50 years ago, and twice the amount of milk compared to 50 years ago. However, the increase in population is only 1% per year. So if you make the comparison, it's not hard to see that we are able to feed the world, but not able to feed the greed for meat. On the other hand, switching to regenerative farming, animal farming, would not solve this climate problem. It is not a climate solution. This is what animal agriculture wants us to believe in. However, the review more than 100 studies show that once the farmed animals are removed from the land, the abundance and the number of the wild mammals, birds, reptiles, insects, even the fish in the river increase. A global dietary change to a vegan diet could enable us to reduce the land use by 76%. As we can see, an omnivore needs 3 acres of land, whereas a vegetarian needs only 16.7 of that 3 acres. And vegan needs only 5.6% of 3 acres. That's a big difference, I mean. When we come to the water problem, we know that only 2.5% of the water on Earth is fresh water, and 1.1 million people worldwide lack access to water. Some 2.7 million people find water scarce at least once a month every year. Human consumption is regarded the biggest of water use. Well, when we look at the numbers regarding cows, depending on whether the cow is lactating or not, a cow consumes 50 to 200 liters per day, whereas a human consumes only 3 liters. Meat and dairy's effect on water scarcity is bigger than most people think. We can check the water print of each food on the chart. Again, a global dietary change to a vegan diet could reduce the water use by 19%. So I will pass now to Brigitta.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aprajita, and I'm from India. I live in Mumbai. So I'm one of the campaigners for Plant-Based Treaty. Oh, okay. I'll pass it on to Max.
Yeah, we are a bit too early. Sorry. So yes, of course, when we're talking about animal agriculture, we also have to talk about methane. We're in a methane emergency, and we're not talking about the main culprit. It's grazing ruminant animals who produce most of the methane, more than oil and gas. And here we can have a look at the impact, the heat trapping ability that methane and nitrous oxide have compared to carbon dioxide. It's not on scale, but the numbers give you an indication like how powerful these are. And so a really easy way to understand what we're doing when we use ruminant animals is we are replacing the carbon dioxide from the air and replace it with a much more potent greenhouse gas. And so this is the 20-year global warming potential. As some of you might know, methane decomposes in the atmosphere after 11 to 12 years. So after that, it turns back to CO2. So another way to look at it is also how about the heat trapping power a methane molecule has in every moment you look at it? So the instantaneous global warming potential, really, when we look at that, it's 150 times higher than CO2. So because we use animals and we are not reducing the numbers of them, we are replacing this carbon dioxide from the air with methane, and we're keeping it at constantly high numbers. So a molecule that's 150 times, depending on the time scale, 150 to 80 more times more powerful. And a lot of times the global warming potential, for example, is used over a 100-time period, and then it turns out to be like 28, 35, depending on the study. But do we really have 100 years? We're approaching climate tipping points, inevitable tipping points that will turn Earth into a hothouse. So do we really have the time to look at a 100-year timescale? Probably not. And yeah, this is just another slide on the different sources of methane. And there's different studies on the proportion that animal agriculture has, 30, 40%, 32, but yeah, it's a lot. So we have to start talking about it if we want to have a shot at using probably the strongest lever that we have to cool our atmosphere rapidly, because like I said before, methane decomposes quickly. If we manage to reduce the number of animals who are producing methane, we can also reduce the amount of methane in our atmosphere and have a direct cooling effect. All right, another slide on rainforest destruction. Also maybe nice for you to, because it's so hard, you know, to compare all these numbers in your head. So we thought it's nice to see how horrible this is, what's happening. And yes, there are also many other environmental problems linked to animal production, the use of animals, fisheries. It's not being talked about much, but in the Pacific, Great Pacific, plastic gyre, when they were taking samples out of it, and they realized, well, it's not really the plastic straws that are causing all of this pollution. It's lost and abandoned fishing gear, actually, which is, yeah, causes 50% of the whole problem. And as I said in the beginning, animal agriculture is ruining our waterways. Here's another shocking example. Animals in the USA produce more excrement than the entire US population. And we're also here, of course, to talk about the solutions, not only the problems. And so this is from the 5th IPCC report, and it clearly shows that there's a huge potential in a plant-based diet. Yeah, it's quite easy, I think, to see. And IPCC report 6 clearly states that a plant-based diet has the biggest disruptive potential on the demand side. And what happened in the report for policymakers, they took it out, they watered it down, and they said, we need healthy diets. Well, what are healthy diets? Yeah, we need plant-based diets. There you go.
Hello, everyone, again. I'm Aprajita from India. So what if the global warming is not controlled? So it's a simple answer of this, that's we all are going to die. We have been witnessing extreme flood condition in many parts of the cities around the world. And one of the example is Mumbai. it is said that by 2050, Mumbai will sink in Arabian Sea, and there are 12 coastal areas in India will submerge. And also it is happening not only in India, but all around the world. How climate emergency will impact cities. So it's not will, it is impacting a lot of cities. So here are the reason, the impact of it. Deadly heat waves, people are dying in different parts of the globe. In India, many people have died during the summer season. There's air pollution, respiratory disorders are reported. Also, power cut. So we eat air condition while we are in summer seasons, and also the water is easily the water gets easily evaporated, due to which we fail to it becomes fail when we are the power plants are not able to get cold. And then we have sea level rise, infrastructure failure, and economic impact. So as we talked in the last slide, sea level is rising, and due to a lot of floods, people have to shift from one place to another, and also it's a huge economic loss and lives all around the world. I'll pass it on to Hoshimi.
Thank you, Aparajita. So I understand that all of this information can be very overwhelming and even depressing, but fortunately, we do have hope, and we're here to bring you the solution, which we've already stated at the beginning, and it's called the Plant-Based Treaty. And we are a grassroots initiative. We're campaigning for a fully plant-based food system, a shift away from animal-based food system. And our goal is to get all international governments to come together and to agree to the fact that we must stop animal agriculture and transition to a fully plant-based food system. And we can do this by creating bottom-up pressure so that we can all be a part of the solution, all of us as individuals, and eventually make it up to a intergovernmental level. So the plant-based treaty consists of 3 demands. The first one is relinquish. And here we're stopping the problem from increasing. So we're freezing everything. No more new slaughterhouses. We're not going to change farms, no land use change, deforestation for animal agriculture. And the second point is redirect. Eliminate the driving forces behind the problem. So this is the fun part. So now we get to actually start transitioning to the plant-based food system. That means we're replacing all the meals in schools, hospitals, prisons, institutions. We're going to make the foods plant-based. We can start educating, doing programs, educating people so that we're not we can do this in a smooth, transitional way so that we can also support farmers as well. So we can give them support in giving them training, for example, so that it's going to be a just transition. And thirdly, we have restore. And this is the most important part, in my opinion, because we're not just stopping climate change, but we're reversing it by restoring and reforesting the earth. And if you would like to give out your phones right now, unfortunately, the QR code isn't working very well. The contrast is not so great. So if you have your phones out and if you type in plantbasedtreaty.org, And if you don't have your phone, don't worry. We can do this afterwards as well on paper, so not to worry. But if you would like to follow along, you will find on plantbasedtreaty.org, the first thing that will come up is like a yellow box, which you can click on, and then all you have to do is, it takes 1 minute, you fill out your details, and that's just like one easy way. It's kind of like signing a petition to say, I support this campaign. And that's just one way you can, yeah. So, which is really important, because we need both individual and system change together, because system change can't happen without us coming together to try and create the change and demand the change. So like just right here, if you go to plantbasedtreaty.org, and you'll see this yellow button, and this is how you endorse as an individual. And so far we've got 63,000 individual supporters, including renowned celebrities that you just saw before, like Joaquin Phoenix, Alicia Silverstone, Paul McCartney, and Sada Sayed, and a whole bunch of other people. So it's really starting to kick off. And oh yeah, you can also check what kind of diet you're on right now. So if you're, for example, if you're reducing your animal based intake, then if you click on it, what happens is we can like send you some free guides, for example, and free information and resources, so that we can actually help you transition. So we've got everything covered. So yep, here are some notable endorsers of the plant-based treaty. And oh, there's George Monbiot, our favorite. We actually have some books over there later on, which we really recommend. His book, Regenesis, excellent book. If you read it, you will go vegan straight away. Oh, here's the QR code. Sorry, I got it all wrong, but it's not working anyway, so we can skip this one. And we have around 2,000 actually. This is an old slide, but we have nearly 2,000 organizations and businesses. So if, for example, if you're a representative of an organization in here, then you can also encourage your organization to sign as an organization. Or if you're here as a representative of a business, you can also endorse as a business. And your logo will go on our website, and we can talk about collaborations, because we want to come together and work together. And I think this is your part.
Okay, so if you are a head of the organization, or somebody representing organization, so you should immediately endorse the plant-based treaty, and you can do a lot of things. You can also go to our website, and you will get a lot of suggestion ideas that what all things you can do. Here are some of these. So you can, if you are doing some kind of event at your workplace, you can always get plant-based foods, talk about plant-based food systems, spread awareness at your workplace. You can also create posters while doing social there. So recently there has been a lot of social responsibility activities in the organizations. You can talk to them, talk to your human resource, and ask them to create more awareness about climate emergency, and ask them to do something like, there are a lot of activities which you can do to spread awareness about plant-based. You might have also have a lot of canteens. You can ask canteens to have more plant-based options. You can have stickers posted around your office, and yeah, you can plan a trip with your colleagues and check out sanctuaries and plant trees. And then all right, thank you. Okay, So here are some educational institution, how we can, if you are in touch with university, colleges, maybe such educational institute, you can, if you are a part of it, you can also ask them to endorse plant-based treaty. You can spread awareness about it among your colleagues. You can always have like potlucks. Yeah, sure. We just talked about it before the slide. Yeah, sure. You want to talk?
Oh no, of course. It's always a good idea to read everything before you sign anything. And we encourage you to go to our website, but we can't do it now because it'll take a long time because we've got everything listed. But we were just like summarizing the 3 points.
Yeah, so we have briefly explained before these slides, explained the treaty in a very brief way. So you can go to www.plantbasedtreaty.org and check it out. Yes. So yeah, so you can do all these things and then yeah. So a lot of cities around the world have endorsed the plant-based treaty. So one of the recent cities is Los Angeles. Many cities from India, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Gujarat is a state, and Ahmedabad, Rajkot, Jabalpur, and yeah, so a lot of cities. So for endorsing the cities. Can we have questions after this? We are just about to finish this. Thank you. Yes. Next. Okay. So how you get city endorsement? You can go to your mayor, talk about plant-based solution, negotiate with them, and you can let them know, connect your problems, and let them aware about how plant-based food system can give a drastic change and help the planet to heal. You can always ask them, there are many government events taking place. You can suggest them that they should make their plant-based events plant-based. And yeah, there are like a lot of government. We have been doing this a lot in many countries. I can give example of India. We have been doing plant-based event in police departments. We have been in touch with a lot of non-profit organizations which are supported by government. So we have been suggesting them to shift to plant-based food system in their events. And yes. Okay, so here, so we have our we have power in our hands by selecting our leaders. So whenever you are going to vote, ask them first that whether they are going to do something to save our planet or not. Put your demands in front of them, that you need a bright future, because after all, we want to live healthy. So you can always talk to your leaders about food system change and visit them, write an email to them. When you go to our website, you will find drafts which will help you to pass a motion, and you can write a letter to your mayors. So it's like a ready-made draft. You can easily get it. Yeah, endorse the plant-based treat. Yeah. Sorry.
Hello, thank you for dealing with very important issue.
Hi, so thanks for that. That was really, really interesting to hear all those stats about animal agriculture. For anyone who joined late, I'm Perrin, I'm from Upfield. I lead our policy work. We are a global plant-based foods company, and we advocate for a more plant-rich diet, primarily in the global north. Is this loud enough? I'm getting, okay, great. Okay. So this is much better, isn't it? So I'm Perrin, I'm from Upfield, I lead our policy work. We are a global plant-based foods company advocating for a more plant-rich diet, primarily in the global north and primarily in countries that overconsume meat and dairy. So I think we have slightly different views here, but I'm really sort of pleased to be hearing all views within this movement. So I'd love to start by asking a few questions about the sort of the background that got you all here. So looking at the agricultural systems in each of your countries, because we have a load of different geographies listed, can you tell me a bit about the sort of the agricultural system? So Max, do you want to start?
Thanks, Perrin. Yes, so I'm from Germany, and we have a very animal-based agricultural system. So we produce in a year, around 900 million animals that we raise and kill. So it's more than 2 million animals are being killed every day in Germany. And for example, we feed 2/3 of our grain harvest. We feed it to pigs and chicken. And I've been talking to many people here from Egypt, from other parts of Africa, Eastern Africa, for example, where there's a lot of hunger and starving children. And they were shocked to hear this. This is, to me, a true crime against humanity. And it's amazing that when we're talking about world hunger at this conference, that the insane wastage of resources in the global north animal industries, that they are not being mentioned so clearly. It's the connection is real. The demand of these industries also leads to a lot of speculation on resources, which drives up the price even more. And the countries in Africa, for example, they cannot compete with these powerful industries. And yes, then we've also talked a lot about deforestation. European Union is the 3rd largest importer of soy, for example. So for me, the plant-based treaty is really all about raising awareness about these incredibly destructive industries of the global north that are massively outsized and they're killing our planet, really.
And Nilgün, the same question to you. So you're from Turkey. What's the sort of agricultural context that's sort of influenced you to do your activism with the plant-based treaty?
Thank you, Karam. So in Turkey, you may think that as an Aegean Sea country, we might be consuming more plant-based than meat, but it is not like that. It is 25 kilos per year per person, the meat consumption in Turkey. It's not a big amount compared to maybe America or Western countries, but still, we are looking up for those civilized countries as they are defining the civilization with meat and dairy. They are offering healthy lunch or breakfast for children consisting of meat and dairy, and Turkey, as well as the other Middle Eastern countries, are defining the healthy food based on animal-based food. Whereas in Turkey, free-range chickens, free-range cows are widely found. We do not have animal agriculture as vast as Germany, of course. However, it is surprising to know that 45% of our animal feed is imported from Argentina. It is a shock. It must be a shock. This means that there's nothing natural about our farming in Turkey. I don't know the numbers that are being imported to Turkey, live animals. We are documenting them. They are coming through the borders with ships through sea. They are being imported. However, it is announced that by 2021, Turkey has stopped importing any animals from abroad. This is not the reality. They are trying to meet the demand of consumer needs, not needs, demands. So about this, what we do, I don't know if I have enough time. We, as a plant-based treaty team, what do we do later, maybe?
So we've got, I want to leave some room for audience questions. So let's, yeah, if you can do it very, very quickly.
Sure. So we do our best. I mean, whatever comes to our mind, it can be a street action. This can be a presentation in a university. It can be a workshop, plant-based milk or yogurt shop in a cafe. We do our best to raise awareness about the diet, because we are consuming our future on our plate. This is what the message is given. In a Muslim country, it's not always easy, but Didim, as a municipality, Didim is a southwestern town. They have endorsed plant-based treaty, and I think this is a big win for our campaign.
Great, thank you, Nilgun. Okay, sorry to speed up, but I'm going to ask you two to keep answers to 2 minutes so we can have enough room for audience questions. So, producer, I'm going to ask you about what the situation is for people who don't have access to plant-based foods. Is, you know, what's the solution there?
So I guess in India, if I talk about India, people easily have access to plant-based food. India's land is really fertile. But there are companies who are motivating people who are in interiors like Haifa and Kargil. They are like disrupting their ecosystem with asking them for doing backyard poultry and a lot of like animal gifting. So this has been a very bad effect on them. So for the long run, they are going to suffer a lot. So this has been also supported by the government. So we have to ask government that stop investing in animal agriculture and stop promoting it. We need to tell them that you have to support more plant-based solution for the long run, because I have from my experience, I have investigated some parts of India where people are suffering a lot and they want to get out of the vicious cycle of poverty, and they are stuck in animal agriculture. They have been suffering from diseases. There has been a lot of problems with food, clothing, shelter, and they are mostly prone to like areas like flood prone areas. So I think it's really important for us to control our demands when it comes to animal based products, because we all know that animal industry and milk industry, they have a lot of funds to advertise themselves, and because of our demands, we are not even exploiting animals and our planet, but also the people who we think about that they are they are poor and we need to help them, we want to support them. If you really want to support them, then stop demanding for animal-based products.
Great, thank you. And then Hashimi, so the $1 million question, if there were no environmental impacts with animal agriculture, if it was sustainable, would then it be okay?
No, because even if it was sustainable, it's not ethical, because we're still killing innocent beings, and we're still that is actually the cause of climate change. It's not the greenhouse gases. In my opinion, it's the fact that we are speciesist and the fact that we are selfish. Why are we at COP27 if we're not going to care about all living beings on Earth? There's no point. We're just trying to be selfish. So the root cause of the problem, if it's within ourselves, if we change ourselves, we can change the planet. And the whole mentality of the thinking that they don't deserve to live because they exist for us, is the same mentality that causes all the other problems and injustices on Earth. Racism, sexism, homophobia, you name it. it's like, what's the morally relevant difference between these two people? And now you might be thinking, she might be like, what is she comparing humans to animals? And that's exactly what I mean. This is the mentality of like, oh, I'm a human, you're an animal. And that's the same mentality that, you know, causes all the problems. So if we can actually think about all sentient beings and respect everyone, then we can solve all the problems. Like, this is going to be so easy, because veganism, for example, is a non-action. It's a passive stance. We're not doing anything special. All we have to do is then we can, you know, focus on the larger problems. So, well, I'd like to like end with a quote. For example, oceanographer Sylvia Earle, she says, "What we're doing to the oceans, we treat fishes like they're just, you know, what we're doing to the oceans, we're actually doing to ourselves." And the great Russian writer Leo Tolstoy said the exact same thing. Like, he said, when you wish to harm others, you really do evil to ourselves. So this is really, really important, that we have to recognize that even if animal farming was sustainable, we're still going to create more problems. So it has to go.
Okay, some bold views there. I imagine we might have some questions. So I saw you first, so.
Hi, I'm a policy analyst doing research for the University of California. And one of the biggest arguments I hear when I advocate for veganism is that meat consumption is a personal choice. So how would you oppose this point? And that meat consumption is a personal choice, so that we shouldn't oppose consumption because it's the citizen's choice. So I would love to have bullet points on how I can answer that. Yeah.
Great. Who?
So it cannot be a personal choice, because when a victim is involved, how can we call it as a personal choice? Suppose I'm walking by the road and I see a child, I just slap her and go. Is it my personal choice? It can't be my personal choice. So we, through our conditioning, we have made ourselves think that we are so superior, just because if that person cannot fight for their rights, we are able to do anything. So it's just simple. Like, when the victim is involved and they are crying for help and you just cannot understand their language, it doesn't mean that we take their advantage.
Thank you for an important issue. However, I think what you show here is only part of the problem and of the solution. This is a vegan, plant-based, ultra-processed. You see, Israel has red signs on it. Your moderator is coming from the industry, which is going to supply, it's going to replace animal-based by plant-based, ultra-processed food. I call here for your treaty to say we want healthy, plant-based diet, mostly plant-based. We do not know if veganism can save the world, because, you know, when you talk about regenerative agriculture, you need manure. So you're presenting a black and white picture. I'm coming from the Israeli society, the Israeli Forum for Sustainable Nutrition, and we're professional around the whole food system. We really need a healthy, sustainable, mostly plant-based diet, which is equitable for everyone and will be sustainable. So I call for you to widen the spectrum, and instead of being black and white, pursuing for the most sustainable thing for humanity as a whole, and of course for the animals. Thank you so much.
Yes, sure.
Hi, everyone. My name is Islam. I'm a nutritionist. Doctor, please, stay here. Yeah. So we were talking about choices, personal choices. It is a bit of a personal choices, but it's also a matter of pricing. It's possible that we have some burgers that cost less than a meal made with plants, and that's more about affordability. that not everyone can really choose. The choice is when you decide what you eat, but also is about awareness. I do gut microbiome testing. According to my research, there is a strong relationship between mental health and meat consumption, between mental health and processed food, be it vegan and not vegan. So the idea is about going back into culture of food that is whole grain. We need to promote biodiversities. We need to tackle monocultures. So the idea is to have all of these rainbows alternative that can be way more efficient in having nutritious food rather than just focusing on yes, no meat, no meat. Like the idea is how are we getting this health, how our mental health will benefit. And once you explain to a patient that depending on what they eat, they are changing the microbiome, they are changing who they are and how that is affecting not only their health, but their mental health, their depression. That's gonna be a way stronger point to move them towards because they're gonna be scared. They know, oh, I'm really doing it myself. Like I decided that, so I can change it by a healthier diet. That's from my little perspective, if that makes sense.
Great. So thank you for that. And just to reiterate, our position is also predominantly plant-based diets. You know, I think we have slightly different positions, but I'd love to ask anyone on the panel what they have, what views they have about widening the tent. That was the phrase you used, wasn't it? About widening the tent. Is there? Do you have a sort of a view about the nuance of either achieving a vegan diet or a more plant-based diet? Does anyone have a comment?
If we're not going 100% vegan, then we are insulting scientists, really, because this is what scientists are saying, that we have to have a shift. Otherwise, it's really disrespectful for the people who are actually already suffering from the climate crisis because of us, because of the rich countries who are eating so much meat, and then the poorer countries who are hardly emitting any, emissions. So whether it's big farm, small farm, it doesn't matter. We just cannot continue.
Any further questions?
Hello, everyone. I'm very sorry I joined this session late, but I would like to ask you one question, which is very triggering for me. I'm currently doing PhD at the moment, and I see like 3 industries in the world: meat industry, milk industry, and petroleum industry are so powerful. We say like they're so big that they have a very big bleeding power, and we can see they have strong lobbying power, crony capitalism involved in every parliament in the world. And when I see the vegan movement, exactly, I actually would like to be vegan. It's not practically and financially viable for me, but I have a plan to be vegan in future as a climate change researcher or doing PhD on climate change. So, I see some narrative around the social media or narrative around the research paper that I see some vegan products have more environmental impact, which is true. Like I carried out some life cycle assessment of some vegan products, like eco-friendly product has more environmental impact. And I was wondering, like, is this because the narrative that has been created by the industry? Because I see some research paper, the research funded by Coca-Cola, like drinking Coca-Cola does not make you obese. Smoking cigarette does not cause you cancer. So I was wondering, like the research that the narrative I'm seeing against the vegan movement, is it because this industry is scared? Because I'm thinking vegan movement can definitely revolutionize. It can dismantle, the big lobbying power the industries have. Do you think is this the narrative or the research coming out of the like evidence-based, or it's just the narrative that's, trying to divert attention from people? Oh no, vegan people are also polluting the environment. So I'm kind of not getting the question correctly. Why is this narrative going around? Do you have any answer for this, or my question does not make sense to you?
So answer that. So why is the narrative going on?
Thanks. It's a great question. Yeah, I think the reason is the very, like you mentioned already, the very, very strong financial interest of this industry. And clearly, the science is there to point in the right direction. And we're seeing it in so many ways: health claims environmental claims. So I would have really liked to answer to the lady. She just left. She just made a statement. It wasn't a question, which I don't think it's a really fair on a panel like this. So for example, the claim that we need animal manure, it's not true. In a lot of areas, in some areas, of course, we need, people need animals, and the plant-based treaty is not about taking animals away from subsistence farmers or stopping indigenous communities from fishing, but it's really about these very, very destructive industries that break planetary boundaries left and right. And so, for example, animal manure is more of a, the dependence on animal manure is not the cause, but rather the consequence of the system that we have at the moment. And well, I'm not an expert on these health issues, but also I think here the science is so clear. Yes, and I think it's a great comparison between meat and cigarettes. Yeah, meat are the new cigarettes.
I think we had a question at the back.
Hi, okay, so 2 points. First on what the lady said, because I think she didn't say it in the most correct manner, but I think what she was trying to say was, if I were to use a corollary, how developing countries are facing, you know, the entire economy is built on the use of fossil fuels. It's very hard to go green, right? It's very hard to make that jump. I think what I understood from her statement was that, and it's literally what you guys are also saying, it doesn't say vegan treaty, it says plant-based treaty. What she was saying was that the world has to move to a more or less plant-based situation, but it's very hard to instantly make that jump. And so, like, maybe broaden the scope to include more people who can't instantly go vegan. So, okay, coming to my point, you know, I'm vegetarian by faith, right? I work in sustainable food systems. I'm a hydroponics farmer. Regenerative farming is something that's very close to my heart. From that perspective, I wanted to understand, going a little technical into what you guys just spoke about, plantbasedtreaty.org, right? You take these signups, you are motivating individuals and giving them the information to take up plant-based diets. But beyond that individual action that you sure are promoting through the website, how is this creating a larger impact? So for example, if an organization or a city signs up on plant-based treaty, right? You used examples of multiple Indian cities. I know that those cities aren't really doing much to move to a plant-based, you know, like I don't even know anything that these cities in India have done to really move, to even take one step towards moving to a plant-based system. What are they doing? The government is literally doing nothing, and I can say that because I'm from India. So when I know I come from these cities, I have stores in some of these cities, like you mentioned, Bhopal, etc. How does signing up on this website help at a larger level? Like, I'm not trying to be, you know, I'm not trying to you know, be critical here. I just want to understand that if you're devoting your time and effort, and sure, individuals are being motivated to sign up, how does the impact go beyond that?
I think a couple of you want to answer that. So Nilgün first.
Hi, I don't know if you were here when I mentioned that I'm from Turkey, and we had a mayor from Didim endorse plant-based treaty. What changed in Didim? They have started to invest on a new farm where they grow only lavender. There is a wide place where they can grow lavender and gain some income from that plant. And then they have invited me to do workshops for the cafes and restaurants in Didim, so that we can change their menus. We can add vegan options to their menus. They have invited me to educate them about sanitary products, which of them would be vegan and non-cruelty ones. This is a change. This is a major change in Didim. So one by one, if we approach such mayors, this will be a change in Turkey. India.
Yeah, so Aprajita.
Hi, so you're from India, from Bhopal, Delhi. Okay. So, so when we go to the mayors, okay, so when we go to the mayors, firstly, as you know, they have lack of knowledge when it comes to environment. You might have encountered, I don't know if you have personally visited them. They don't know anything. So when we educate them about, look, this is happening, this is an emergency and we need to do something about it. So government is expending a lot of amount of funds in climate awareness, but it is not being used. So it has been very recently, we have it's been like 8 months. I have been traveling from different cities. I've been educating mayors about it, and they have been inviting us to do workshops. For example, we have recently done a workshop in Jamnagar Food Corporation of India. We did in police departments. We did in Skill Development Academy, where a lot of women comes for learning different kinds of skills. So there is a lack of awareness, because the first problem is demand, not the supply. Because if the demand is going to go up, supply, how are you going to stop it? So we need to educate them. We need to talk about it, because nobody else is talking about it. So when I have a certain resource booklet, when I show it to them, see, we have been also working in resources. So so there is a booklet called Vegan Starter Kit, which we gave it to them, and it is very local. So when you like Indians and in different parts of the country, so it has been localized so much, and we have in 4 different language. So it has not been in your knowledge, because it is a very recent campaign. We have recently started talking to the mayors, and recently I got an endorsement from Vivek Tankha, who's member of parliament, and he has been supporting us in a huge way to take the treaty to the parliament. So so while coming here, it happened like 3 days before. So I have to go and meet him. Even the environment minister who came here, I met him and talked about it. So first, we have to initiate the talk, because a lot of people don't know anything. And in India, going vegan is really, really easy. And we are not saying that you have to eat chips or you have to eat, junk food. We are asking you to eat healthy, whole food, plant-based diet. And nowhere in the treaty we are saying eat less meat or eat less dairy. We are saying go 100% plant-based. So I hope I have answered your question.
Great. So that is all we have time for, but I'm sure the team will have lots of conversations with everyone afterwards if anyone's interested in hearing more. So the Plant-Based Treaty team have offered out some books, I believe, outside. So they're sharing Regenesis by George Monbiot, The Climate Book by Greta Thunberg, Our House is on Fire, also by Greta Thunberg, and Storms of My Grandchildren by James Hansen. And they're offering free plant-based food as well. So thanks everyone for coming.